Hello, welcome to this brand new course, Introduction to JavaScript, where I'll be taking you from a beginner to an expert JavaScript developer. I have prepared the course outline for this course. The first thing we are going to be looking at is what is JavaScript. We are going to look at what JavaScript is, what it entails. Then the next thing we'll be looking at is the history of JavaScript. So we'll look at how JavaScript started, where it's coming from, and where it is now. Another thing we'll be looking at is benefits of becoming a JavaScript developer. What are those things you can do with JavaScript? Then we'll move on to look at tools you will need for this course. That is, tools you will need as a JavaScript developer. Talking about Node.js, installation of Node.js, and your code editor. Then we'll move on to getting started with JavaScript when we'll be doing we'll be looking at variables, we'll be looking at different concepts in JavaScript, or in a bit to just get you started with the language. Then afterwards, we'll look at data structures in JavaScript. Data structures, what are the different data structures in JavaScript? Then when we are done with that, we now understand the concept. We'll now look at how we can manipulate HTML and CSS with JavaScript. Then after that, we'll look at thinking JavaScript, so how we can use JavaScript to solve algorithms. Algorithms are code that solve a basic problem, that solve a problem, a practical problem. Then we'll then go on to look at JavaScript framework, the different JavaScript framework. Then after them, we'll now treat selected libraries such as React JS. And after that, we'll look at Node.js. Then we'll round the course up with MongoDB. For this course, as we go along, we're going to be building projects. So now, what is JavaScript? Let's get started. According to Wikipedia, JavaScript is an interpreted asynchronous programming language that is one of the core technologies of the web, the rest being HTML and CSS. I know this is a big grammar to take in now as a beginner, but as we go on, you understand it. But let's pick out the keywords here. We said it is an interpreted asynchronous programming language. What that means is that JavaScript needs it needs a program to interpret the code you write to into machine code. That is, take the code you write in JavaScript. That program will take the code you write in JavaScript and then convert it to the language the machine understand, so that the machine can, that is your computer, can perform the task which you have instructed it to do. The asynchronous there, it means that it does not happen at the same time. That is, your JavaScript, by the time you have one JavaScript code, you have different set of JavaScript code. They will be running one after the order which you declared them. So the web is made up of three languages. You have the HTML for structure and the CSS for beautification, while the JavaScript is for functionality. This is not an HTML and CSS course, this is a JavaScript course, so we'll be focusing more on JavaScript. Then over 97% of websites use JavaScript on the client side of web pages to control behavior of web pages using vanilla JavaScript, or as a library using React, Angular, or Vue.js. As a server, using Node.js and as a database using MongoDB. All major web browsers use a dedicated JavaScript engine to execute JavaScript code. Google Chrome uses V8 engine, Internet Explorer uses Chakra, and Safari uses JavaScript core. Now, what we are saying here is that virtually 95% of websites you visit use JavaScript to control the behavior of web pages. Behavior of web pages is when you click a button, how does the page behave? When you scroll, how does the page behave? And other things you see on websites. Now, when we say vanilla JavaScript, that is the raw JavaScript, the plain JavaScript. Now, JavaScript has a library which is called React, which was developed by Facebook for the React is basically to develop front end. That is the front end, the interface which you see on website. There are also Angular, which does the same thing, and Vue.js. JavaScript is also used in the server, in programming the server now, as in it was used to build Node.js, which is now used as which is now used for backend. Then also JavaScript is now used to build database in the form of MongoDB. MongoDB was built with JavaScript. So different programs, or we can call them engines, that helps you convert your JavaScript code into machine language the computer understand. For Chrome, the Chrome uses for Google Chrome uses V8 engine, while Internet Explorer uses Chakra to interpret JavaScript, while Safari uses JavaScript core to interpret the JavaScript. Now, in summary, JavaScript is a programming language that is multi-paradigm, event-driven, functional, imperative, procedural, and object-oriented. Now, this is a sum of all JavaScript does. A sum of all JavaScript does for us. We see that it is a programming language that is multi-paradigm. Multi-paradigm in the sense of what I just explained. That is, it's used to build front end, it is used to build back end, and now used to build databases. Now, it is event-driven. When we say event-driven, so when we say that JavaScript is event-driven, that is, it is determined by the event a user performs. For example, your mouse click, your mouse click, your mouse hover, clicking a button. That JavaScript is functional imperative. That is, it means that you write your code to tell the computer the different steps that you should take to achieve your goal or to perform your task. Then when we say JavaScript is procedural, it means that it follows a set of commands. For example, all the JavaScript syntax does particular things. So JavaScript is bound to follow whatever they do. Then, and lastly, JavaScript is object oriented. It means that everything in JavaScript is an object. And we know what's an object. Every object has properties. For example, the name of that object, and the actions it performs. So in summary, this is what JavaScript is. Now let's look at a brief history of JavaScript. JavaScript was originally designed by Brendan Eich. He designed JavaScript for Netscape. and it was released for public use in 1995. The main goal for of him developing JavaScript was to add functionality to web pages to make to control the behavior of web pages. Um, when it was released, it gained widespread popularity. Even it gained more popularity following the release of Node.js by Randall in 2008, which was built on Google Chrome V8 engine. What Node.js did was to allow JavaScript to be used as a backend server and as a database using MongoDB. Now that wasn't just all. MongoDB also allowed JavaScript to run anywhere outside the browser, provided that it was installed. Before now, I've told you that JavaScript run on the web. It needed an engine to um, convert the code, that is to interpret the code into machine language. But what the miracle Node.js did was to build on the V8 was to take the V8 engine of Google Chrome, um, modify it in a way so that by the time it so that it can be installed anywhere, so that it runs JavaScript. So from here, JavaScript can now be run anywhere outside of the browser, making it possible to be used as a front-end programming language, as a back-end programming language, and as a database programming language. Now, benefits of learning JavaScript, or benefits of becoming a JavaScript developer. From all that we have said so far, you can go into full stack web development. That is, you can be a front-end developer using React, Vue.js, or Angular. And you can also go into becoming a back-end developer using Node.js and MongoDB for database. You can be these two set of groups. At least you can combine the work of these two groups, at least front-end and back-end, and become a full stack developer. You can also go into mobile app development using React Native, which is also built using JavaScript. Again, you can also be a game developer. You can use HTML5 canvas to develop games. Then you can also go into robotics because Google Chrome Node.js is now being installed in robots to run in JavaScript code. So you can go into robotics and program robots. Now, tools you will need for this course. Um, before now, before 2008, JavaScript only ran in the web. That is, let me open my console and show you what I mean. Now, from in this console, I will just to open your console, just press Windows. Sorry, to open your console, just press Control plus Shift plus I. Control plus Shift plus I. If you're on a Mac, press your command key plus Shift plus I. That will open up the um, console. So just scroll up and look for this cursor here. So you can type in window object. You will see all the window objects listed. Those are JavaScript code. Then you can also do basic maths in your console. But as even we want to write lots of code, this will not be possible. So we need to install some other things. So in order for us to run JavaScript, because we don't want to be running it on the web, and since we've learned that with Node.js, JavaScript can now run on anywhere. we want to try this out by installing Node.js on our computer. So just go to this location. There are two versions here. You have this version and you have the latest version. To keep things simple and straight, we'll go with the previous version. So these are the steps to install Node.js on our computer. I already have it, so I will not bother installing it again. I will just leave you to continue the steps. Also, we need a code editor so that we can write our code rather than writing it in our console, which will not allow us. So we need a code editor. My preferred choice is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. So you can go up to this link here. You see the download button. Just click on download it to your computer, and click on run to run the installation. Since I already have it, I will not bother installing it. So when you are done installing, let us open our command line, our let's open our terminal. To open your terminal, just press Windows plus R. If you are on a Mac, just press Windows, your command key plus R. So type in CMD inside this box here and click on enter. Your terminal should be open now. So when on your terminal, just type this code cd. Cd means to change directory. So I will cd into my document, then I will enter. Then I want to make a directory, so I will just type nkdir means make directory. I will call the name of my directory will be tutorial, then I will click enter. So when that is done, I will seed into the tutorial folder. Then I will open the folder up with Visual Studio by typing code dot. Just type code then space dot, then press enter. When that is done, your Visual Studio Code should open up, and you will see your folder, your tutorial folder. Then just hover on it. You will see these icons here. I will just click on this first icon here, which means new file. So I'll click it and I will call my file index.js. Now, or if you are writing JS, then the name of your file should end in .js. So very, very important. It ends in .js. So you can name your file anything, but it is best the entry file in any programming language usually called index file. So in the next video, we are going to get straight into JavaScript and see how we can write JavaScript code. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me to grow and to do more videos like this. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Bye bye. See you in the next episode.